going to introduce a speaker that doesn't need any introduction or presentation because he is the hero of our school, full professor of semiotics, Kristian Bankov, author of a chapter in our handbook. The title of his presentation is Cucota, Food, Wine and Scientific Beliefs to Conceive a Brand.
Now, what I'm going to present is three things in one, three different genres in one presentation, knowing very well how the semiotic schools work, knowing very well the audience. I'm trying to combine the genres in order to correspond to the understanding and interests of everybody. So I had to finish the things in the last moment. As you know, usually the organizer is somehow with not enough time to finish the presentation. This happens always. Still, I think that this topic is so well elaborated in the research of our Semiotic Center within the teaching in our master program that we can stay here for days and speaking about how brands work. So, there will be presentation of my chapter, which is about the brand in the food industries, the role of the brands, how they change the culture and the communication of taste. It will be also a kind of workshop because I'm about to give you some hints how to transform your cooking or taste hobby into a brand. I mean, I can give you the structure of producing a good communicative tool, but then the rest depends on your talents and on your, how to say, identification with the mission and the formulation of the mission of the brand. And last but not least, I have recently published a paper in American Journal for Semiotics on brands and sacred beliefs and economic value, which will, let's say, satisfy, if necessary, the expectations of the academic audience, but that will be last in the hierarchy of presentation. So probably we will run out of time. I will give only the bibliographic reference, and you will be invited to subscribe for the American Journal of Semiotics and read my article there. This was a joke. So, now let's have a look on some famous or non-famous people. This is the, let's say, most interactive and workshop-like part. Do you recognize this individual? Well, this very famous movie maker. Do you know who is this lady?
Yeah.
Magdalena Maleva. This is Bulgarian tennis player, the most successful Bulgarian female tennis player. This is the person who created Starbucks brand. Sakichi Toyoda, who is the founder of Toyota. It's Francis Ford Coppola.
Coppola.
It's good. This is Sofia Yotova, Bulgarian vlogger about food. Gabriel Chanel. This is Raymond Albert Kroc, the founder of McDonald's. Now, what puts together all these people? They created recognizable brands. Okay, this is already a good guess. And now I will try to explain what makes the difference between the brands these people created and the other brands, the normal brands, because obviously the list of this kind of personalities behind brands can continue for long, but definitely this is the minority of the way brands are made. So my focus, the first part of my presentation, would be to try to explain, according to my point of view, according to the research we have been doing for a long time and our teaching in our program, but also consultancy, which I'm doing, my colleagues from the program, sometimes from our socio-semiotic laboratory, we're doing for brands, but also our seminar, because every second Thursday we invite brand managers in our master's program. So students meet representatives of various brands, and we have the chance to speak in first person, to have a discussion, to have an open dialogue with people who stay behind the brand. So our know-how gave us, I speak on behalf of the team of our master program, but also what is our specialization in the Cucota project. It reflects this know-how we have accumulated during the years. So this is what stays behind certain types of brands. I think this is the model of branding which will somehow prevail, and in near future, probably behind every brand you will have to look for an important personality. You will look. It would be necessary that behind every brand there is a strong individual, source of sacred beliefs. As brands without sacred beliefs will be very difficult to create. The profit-oriented business, when we speak about the B2C, business to clients, communication, branding, will be more and more difficult unless you do not have a real passion behind, unless you don't have a real driving power of a brand agent, whose brand agent necessarily all the time, this is the brand management, all the time the personality of the person, the founder, the visionary behind the brand needs to be translated into the continuously renewable communicative means. So until now it was easier to make business. Before social media, because Web 2.0, it was a different sport making a brand. But with social media, somehow the rules are changing, and obviously many of these persons, they were representative of other brand cultures, but they were somehow the pioneers in creating a visionary brands. And I think this model now spreads, and whatever dimension of your business you want to achieve, whatever dimension of your business ambitions are, I think the model of branding has a kernel, has a basic requirement, and this basic requirement has very much to do with a sincerely committed person, a person who believes that what she's doing is the right thing to do. This is not a key for success. Let's be clear on this. We don't know, I don't know how to prescribe a successful recite for let's say efficient recite, how to do a successful business. But I know certain rules and certain trends which are object of this initial part of the presentations, which give you far more chances to valorize, to monetize, to capitalize on the market. And when we say market, the notion of market is also extending after this shift in the communication things, which are the social media and democratization and let's say network structure now of the whole public space. All this transforms the way business is carried on, and somehow now it is more clear than ever that you need a source, a powerful source of beliefs, of passion, of when you feel that what you can do is valuable for the others, and even more. Usually all these founders of great brands, they were very idealistic in the way their business was. Even the worst of them, Kroc, because usually he's the symbol of scrupulous capitalism, of regardless of any diversity, of any moral. He just stole the brand for the two founders, brothers McDonald. So you can see in the movie, although the movie was quite much on the side of Ray Kroc, still there you could see that he was the representative, typical American entrepreneur, which was so decided to do what he was doing for profit, because it was, at least in his case, only. But even him in this movie, and generally, if you read his story, because his story, his personal story is one of the most, I would say, followed by the young entrepreneur, because he's one of the most successful businessmen. There are secretaries. He was believing in the American dream and in certain things. So, although we may not share the same content of beliefs, also this person was idealistic in a way. All the others are even more. They might be filthy rich, as Dario would say, but what I would claim and defend these people, because the profit was not the leading thing. The profit was never the brands built on pure, let's say, marketing ground, on a pure profit chasing. Those brands, we never know who stays behind them. We never know interesting story. On their websites, you will see we achieve the best quality to satisfy our clients' needs, and brands which are constructed with strong personality, with a moving, let's say, individual, passionate visionary founder behind them. Those brands are the brands we usually recognize, we usually identify, and very often those are the brands we hate. Because you cannot hate brand like Asus, let's say. I mean, you just cannot think that it's not a good computer, but I don't know if Asus is a good example. It is the most
trusted.
Not untrusted, just without personality, without anything to remember. Anonymous, yes, personless brand, Asus. So I give it as an example that you cannot love it in the same way as you can love this big legendary brand, but also you cannot hate it, because usually love and hate are related with brands whose construction, whose process of their semiotization involves sacred beliefs, involves personality, involves let's say human-like features. So, I share here a philosophy of how to make brands, how to semiotize brands with the let's say behind them a semiotic engine, which is the personality of a visionary or a founder. Nowadays we have the startup entrepreneurship. Startup entrepreneurship is kind of such thing, because usually behind startups you have some smart, very insightful persons and ideas, which then you need the tools of business, you need the management instruments in order to transform them into a lucrative business. Although strong brands and startup culture are not, the fact that behind both of them you need a personality, you need a mind, a bright generator of bright ideas. This makes them a common domain of making business. So it's clear for our, let's say, the facts. Probably you have no doubt of why the most famous, how these most famous founders of brands were their story. But for instance, also very small, this is a vlogger who transformed her passion into a small scale business, a small scale business. It's a business, Sofiotova is making teach your kids healthy food. It's not vegan, no, I think she's vegan, actually she is a vegan, and her teachings are vegan. So her passion is how to make vegan food tasty, and not only tasty but funny, how to make it as a performance, how to teach the kids to combine ingredients and to feel the magic of cooking. So she's very good. She's deep believer of what she is doing. So she was guest to our seminar a few years ago. That's why I always give her as an example, because okay, she is doing this for her living, but definitely profits, prices, and all this stuff was totally secondary to the way she was presenting the business. Actually, it's funny because she lost her sense of smell. So she has only taste, which are two different things. And this helped her to be far more sensitive and somehow to be more expert exactly in the taste and not in the smell, which apparently are different things. So when we speak about the sensory aspect, and this disadvantage appearance gave her advantage in using far more words and narrative in order to explain and to compensate the lack of the feeling of smell. So she's cooking without being able to smell the food, but she is tasting it very well. And okay, now this skill, in a way, the way she presents it, the way she has branded it, her brand is called Foodie Boulevard. She told us about a story about her small mythology, why is Foodie Boulevard. This has something to do with this, her inability and so on. So it's a very small brand, it's not profit-oriented, it's not a rich person. Still, we have a successful branding of someone's passion. Recently, I saw on Facebook that some other universities started to offer the same master program as ours. Actually, they stole exactly the name of our program. It's advertising and brand management. And the way they promote this advertising, I have to admit that they find a good way to promote it, and we're working to share it. Actually, they were attracting their candidates with the competition, brand your hobby, brand your hobby. So usually most of these brands are built on a successfully, someone has a hobby. Usually you work one thing and then your hobby goes on your passion, on your efforts, free time, and so on. And at a certain point, people with talents usually can develop their hobby in such a way that it can substitute their main business and transform this hobby into a real brand, into a real, let's say, distinctive way to sell what you are best to do and what you strongly believe that doing it, selling it, spreading it, multiplying it would improve the others. Actually, this is probably the most important feature of this. Most of them believe the result of their work is improving the world. Actually, the archetype of all these people, I haven't put it because it would have been too easy to answer all the other questions, is Steve Jobs. But he's so much talked, so much used as an example that, but we have to admit that he incorporates a model of successful business through real visionary brand, which until today is changing the rules of the game. So in the business field, this works. Obviously, today the border between doing business and, for instance, doing policy or doing non-government NGO activities are very close. The second thing I would insist and somehow give as a truthful finding is that the model of branding is valid not only for doing business, it is valid also for doing whatever claim for the public interest, for the public benefit. With the Web 2.0, with this new generation, where internet is dominated by the user-generated content, the borders between making business and changing the world for good are blurred, are not anymore two separate fields of the world, because the system, the algorithms, the logic of the internet is a logic of profit. a logic of audience, a logic of numbers, of big data. So even if you are not the candidate for taking the profit, someone else will take the profit of your success. Every posting of us in Facebook or in Instagram, even if we don't want to take any profit from it, the companies, they are taking the profit of it. Because if you have many followers, there is a traffic, so your profile is sold to companies, you are targeted, and you can get if you want. But whatever is happening online nowadays is profit generating. It's the new logic of capitalism. And if you want it or not, it works like this. And that's why the dimension and the borders between doing, let's say, pure business for profit or doing NGO, let's say, activity to improve society in certain ways, or if you just want to gain political consent and to candidate yourself for the leadership of societies, all these are very much alike, very similar, let's say, acts. And branding, the construction of a strong, powerful, meaningful brand is a common approach for success.